Today in maths we're going to be studying section 10A, which is perimeter. Before we talk about perimeter, we've got to talk about converting between units of length. The 4 units of length we're going to talk about today are millimetres, which is abbreviated to mm, centimetres, which is abbreviated as cm, metres, which is abbreviated as m, and kilometres, which is abbreviated as km. We can convert in between these units of length by either multiplying or dividing. For example, if we want to convert a millimetres to centimetres, we need to divide by 10. If we then want to convert centimetres to metres, we divide by 100. If we want to convert metres to kilometres, we divide by 1,000. It also works the other way. If we want to change kilometres to metres, we multiply by 1,000. If we want to change metres to centimetres, we multiply by 100. And if we want to convert centimetres to millimetres, we multiply by 10. So now let's try worked example 1. So what it's asking us to do is to complete the following metric length conversions. So the first one is to convert 1.027 metres to centimetres. So how you do that is you'd write 1.027. Then to convert from metres, which is up here, to centimetres, we know we have to multiply by 100. So what I do is I say to myself, so in 100 there's 1, 2 zeros. So I say I have to jump my decimal place 2 jumps to the right. So it's 2 jumps to the right because we're multiplying, we're increasing our number. So this is my decimal place here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump it 2 jumps to the right. So I'm going to go 1 and 2, and I end up there. So now, I'll just show you, 1, 2, my decimal place is now here. So I've got 102.7 centimetres. So what that means is that 1.027 metres is the same as 102.7 centimetres. We've successfully converted it. So if you got that one, good work. Now let's try question B. It wants us to convert 0.0034 kilometres into metres. So the way I do that is first I write out 0.0034, which is my number I start with. And I want to convert kilometres, which is here, to metres. So to do that, I need to multiply by 1,000. So if I'm multiplying by 1,000, 1,000 has 3 zeros. And because we're increasing our number, we're multiplying, we jump 3 zeros to the right. So if my decimal place starts here, I've got to go to the right 1 jump, 2 jumps, 3 jumps. So that's 1 jump for every 0 in 1,000. So if I've done those 3 jumps, so 1, 2, 3, my new decimal place is there, so I'll put it there. So there it is. So because my decimal place has moved, now I've got 3.4 meters. So what that means is 0.0034 kilometers is the same as 3.4 meters. So part C is asking us to convert 76,500 meters into kilometers. So let's start by writing down our number, 76,500. So on that number, our decimal place is at the end. And it wants us to convert meters into kilometers. So we're not multiplying this time, we're going the other way. We're dividing by 1,000. So there's still 3 zeros in 1,000, but instead of jumping our decimal place to the right like we did, we're going to jump it the other way, to the left. And because we've got 3 zeros in 1,000, we're going to jump it 3 decimal places to the left. So let's go. Here it is. 1, 2, 3. So our new decimal place after those 3 jumps is now here. So what we've got is 76.5 kilometers. Because we did our 3 jumps to the left. So that means that 76,500 meters is the same as 76.5 kilometers. Okay, the last one we need to do for this example is question D. And it's asking us to convert 3.069 meters to millimeters. So there's something different about this one. We're going to go from meters all the way over here to millimeters. So we need to we need to convert meters to centimeters by multiplying by 100, and then we have to convert centimeters to millimeters by multiplying by 10. So let's write our number, 3.069. So how many zeros, if we're starting in meters and then we're going to millimeters, how many zeros have I got? I've got 1, 2, 3. So what that says to me is I've got to jump my decimal place 3 jumps, and they've got to be to the right because we're multiplying. So let's jump it. So 1, 2, 3. So my new decimal place will be here at the end. So my answer will be 3,069 millimeters. So what that means is that 3.069 meters is the same as 3,069 millimeters. So what you need to do now is have a turn at exercise 10A, question 1. So now we're going to talk about perimeter. So what perimeter is the total distance around a shape. So if I have this shape, the perimeter of the shape would be this distance plus this distance plus this distance plus this one plus this one plus this one plus this one plus this one. So it's the distance all around the outside. So to find the perimeter of a shape, we have to work out the length of each side, and that's usually provided to us. So say for this one, this side's 5 meters, this one's 5 meters, this one's 8 meters, this is 3 meters, this is 3 meters, this one here is 2 meters, and this one here is 2 meters, and so is that one there. So to work out the perimeter of this shape, we'd have to add up all of these numbers together to see what the total distance was around the shape. It's also important that all the measurements are in the same units, because you can't add them together if they're not in the same units. And then once they're in the same units, you add all the side lengths together. So now we're going to talk about exercise 10A worked example 2. So what it asks us to do is find the perimeter of each of the following shapes. So the first one is a kite. So that shape looks like this. And the length that we're provided with is that this one's 21 millimeters and this one is 15 millimeters. And you might be wondering what these funny lines are here on the shape. What they are is, see the ones that have one line? That means that those two lengths there are the same, and the ones with two lines mean that those two lengths are the same. So this one's 15 millimeters, so is this one. This length, this side, is 21 millimeters, and so is this one. So let's work out what the perimeter of this shape is. So first we'd look at the sides. So we know one side is 21 millimeters, and we multiply that by 2 because there's two sides of that length. Then we add the 15 millimeter side, and we multiply that by 2 as well because there's two sides of that length. So remember, when we work out this formula, we have to apply our BIDMAS. We have to do our multiplication first. And the answer we'll get is 72 millimeters. So that means the perimeter of this kite is 72 millimeters. So now we're going to find the perimeter for part B of a trapezium. So let's draw the trapezium. And I'll tell you what the lengths are. This length is 17 millimeters. This one is 28 millimeters. This one's 7.3 centimeters. And this one is 45 millimeters. So you might have noticed there that all the measurements are in millimeters except for this one. So we've got to convert 7.3 centimeters to millimeters before we can add up the sides. So remember our picture we talked about before, our conversion diagram? So we're going to use that to convert 7.3 centimeters to millimeters. So if we're going from centimeters to millimeters, we need to multiply by 10. So I can just do that one in my head. 7.3 centimeters is the same as 73 millimeters. And even though I did that in my head, you can do it by jumping the decimal place by saying there's 1 0. So I'll just jump my decimal place one jump to the right to get 73. So now we can add up all the sides of our trapezium to get our perimeter. So it's quite simply just adding them up. So we've got 45 plus 17 plus 28 plus 73. And our answer that we get when we add all those up is 163 millimeters. So that means the perimeter of this trapezium here, the distance around the outside, is 163 millimeters. So now we're going to look at example 2C. So it's finding the perimeter of an irregular shape. So I'll draw the irregular shape. It looks like this. And the measurements we're given in the question for this shape are, so you might notice that some of the sides on here don't actually have measurements. Like this one here doesn't have a measurement, does it? Neither does that one there. So what we need to do is somehow figure out what they are. So this measurement here, we can work that out because it's the same as this measurement, take away this measurement and this measurement. So how I'd write that is that measurement there is 40 minus 11 plus 18. And this measurement here, this one, must be this measurement here, take away this measurement, plus this measurement. So that would be 45 minus 15 plus 15. So now we know what all our measurements are. We can replace these measurements with their actual measurements. And now it's just a matter of adding all of those perimeter measurements together. So we'd have 18 plus 45 plus 40 plus 15 plus 11 plus 15 plus 11 plus 15. And so the answer we'd get for the perimeter of this irregular shape is 170 millimeters. So now I'd like you to try exercise 10A, questions 2 and 3. So now we're going to quickly talk about finding the perimeter of a square and a rectangle. So if I have a rectangle here, we know these two lengths are the same and so are these. So this is known as the length and these are known as the width. So the formula for the perimeter of that rectangle is P is equal to 2 times the length plus the width. So say if the length was 3, so both of these were 3 centimetres and our width was 2. So both of these were 2 centimetres. It'd be 2 times 5, which would be 10 centimetres. And you could work that out in a different way, just by adding 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2. You'd still get 10. But this is just a different formula for working it out. So now if we want to work out the perimeter of a square, so this is my square, all the sides in a square are the same length. So we'll mark that as L. So the formula for the perimeter of a square is P for perimeter equals 4L. So what that means is it's 4 times L. 4 lots of length. 1 length, 2 length, 3, and 4. So for example, if the length of that sides of that square were 2 centimetres, you just do 4 times 2 and you'd get 8 centimetres. And just like the rectangle, it's the same sort of answer as if you added it up. So if you added up each one of them, 2 plus 2 is 4, plus another 2 is 6, and then plus the other 2 is 8. So this is just a more shortened way of doing it. But you can choose either. You can either add up the sides individually, or you can multiply. So now we're going to try exercise 10A worked example 3. So what the question asks us to do is to find the perimeter of a rectangular block of land that is 20.5 metres long and 9.8 metres wide. So the first thing I do here is I draw a diagram. So we know it's a rectangle. And here's a rectangle. So we know it's 20.5 metres long, and that's also 20.5 metres long because it's a rectangle, and these lengths here are the same, and that's 9.8 metres. So we know our formula for the perimeter of a rectangle is P equals 2 times length plus width. So it's 2 times 9.8 plus 20.5. So it's 2 times 9.8 plus 20.5 is 30.3. So your answer is 60.6 metres. So the perimeter of this rectangular block of land is 60.6 metres. So now what I'd like you to do is try questions 10 and 12 from exercise 10A. So that's the end of the lesson. Thanks for watching.